Welcome to Millionaire Agents Secrets, uncovering the hidden gems to help you become the next $1 million agent. And here's your host, Milton Player.
Welcome to Millionaire Agents Secrets. We have with us Ryan Mccann from Cleveland, one of the most colourful real estate agents you'll ever meet. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. Thanks, Milton.
How's the Brisbane market going?
Mate, we're out in the Bayside there, just about 40 minutes from Brisbane, and mate, I can't say it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful area where you are too, huh?
We've got a good scope of real estate here. We've got waterfront property, beachfront property. Entry level's about 400,000. We've got acreage homes, prestige, a bit of rural, and we've also got high end of units from $220,000 townhouses to multi-million dollar waterfront units as well, penthouses. So we've got a really good scope here.
Do you find the people are any different that you deal with, from the 200s to the $1 million ones?
I honestly really don't. They've got the same motivations. They want to move on to the next stage in their life. I get nothing more a buzz out of, obviously, just saw one on the weekend, which was the highest price for Raby Bay in 2016, which was $2.975 million under hammer.
Nice.
And I get the same buzz out of that as I do last week selling an apartment or townhouse to a first home buyer for $232,000. So the people are not different at all.
They're not, are they? Because that first home buyer that buys that cheaper one ends up in the $1 million ones. So they're the same people.
They do, mate. And it's just like it's like the banks. You join a bank, you end up staying with a bank for the rest of your life, unfortunately. But with real estate, with real estate, it can be the same if they have a great experience, and you keep those connections well, and obviously you are genuine with what you do. That repeat business comes back, and you do see them go through the stages of first home apartments to first home houses, and so on. And as they go up the scale, it's nice to enjoy the ride with them. Yeah,
you gotta love those banks, don't you? Fantastic people.
Yeah, I gotta be careful there, mate. My brother's a banker down there in Sydney at ANZ, mate. So I gotta be careful.
They're one of the good ones, mate.
Yeah, they're great.
All right, for our audience, buddy, do you mind giving us a bit of a rap about yourself? Just let us know some dynamics about you.
Sure. Just a quick, in a nutshell, mate, I've been in real estate for 17 years now. To be honest, mate, it's the only full-time job I've ever had. I started when I was 20. I started at Ray White as a rookie and had about a year and a half, nearly 2 years there. And I went on to work for my dad's private business there, Cleveland Agencies, down on the harbour at Raby Bay. I was lucky enough to run that for him as his sales manager for a few years. And then moved on to bigger things, and started off with LJ Hookers at Cleveland, and reached the top 2 salespeople in the state, and the top 6 in the country. Had a huge fall from grace, and started up First National 18 months ago, and mate, been kicking some big goals since.
Is it your own business?
Yeah, 50%. So we've got my business partner, Cheryl Taylor. Without her, none of this would have happened, to be honest. It was her idea. She sourced out the First National brand and approached me. She was instrumental in getting this up and running. So big, forever in debt to her, because we've turned this into a wonderful business.
So how long did you say it's been First National now that you've been doing that?
Nearly a year and a half. Just over a year and a half, sorry. Just over a year and a half.
And you're kicking more goals than ever, aren't you?
Mate, my best at the previous place, I think I was in the $950 a year in earnings, and somewhere, I think they did the figures last week. I'm somewhere at 1.2, 1.3 million comp. So, mate, it's awesome. It's really awesome.
So is your market booming now?
No, I wouldn't say it's booming. It's just as hard to get listings, and it's just as hard to get them over the line. We're certainly not in a marketplace in this Bayside area. We're not like the Camp Hills, where they're getting in the inner city suburbs, where they're getting 20 or 30 people to an open home. If we get 4 or 5 people through an open home, we're very fortunate here. 2's about average, 5's excellent, above 6 or 7 is brilliant. and that's for houses that are being marketed as well. So aggressive marketing with those numbers. So I like the saying, you can't let the ball go through the keeper. You get one opportunity, and if you miss it, you can cost a seller money. And that's why I tell sellers to make sure they make their decisions on who they choose to represent them in the marketplace, a priority.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how many days on market? Do you know what the average is, or just a general ballpark of it?
General here, about 38 to 45, around there is about the average. So it's that's for our office. It's a little bit higher in the general market. It's about 60 to 70 days in the general area, but our office is a little bit under that.
And so where are the buyers coming from? Are they locals, or are they Brisbane, or?
We have had a fantastic mix this year. 2016, we've seen that we get the internal transactions through the Redland City. The Redland City comprises about a dozen suburbs, but we've had a lot of buyers from down your way, of Sydney. We've got a lot of buyers at the moment coming from Camp Hill and Carindale, just finding better value for money, and obviously looking for a lifestyle, bringing up the kids. We've got some fantastic state schools and private schools out this way, and the opportunities to have a decent sized yard. Have the bay either on your doorstep or a couple of streets away is a pretty good magnet for them.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a beautiful place. So let's go back to the past, to your social group you were in at school, for example.
Yeah.
What group was that, and what do you reckon that had any influence on where you went with your life?
I think it did in a way. I was probably the school jock.
Yeah, cool.
Captain of the rugby union side, captain of the soccer side, captain of the athletic side. So that leadership was put onto you at a very early age. You had the responsibilities of giving the presentations of the score lines on the weekends and all those type of little things, which at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age is nerve-wracking, but it certainly sets you for things down the track in life. But I think that I probably realised at a very early age that with the responsibilities of captaining sporting teams, you had the ability to make someone's day. The encouragement you could give your team and that they looked at you to lead from the front, I think was probably the best thing I could take out of my school years. I wasn't a good student, mate. I was a solid C.
Yeah, that's okay. But don't they say that the A's end up working for the C's?
Not in this office.
It sounds like you're a performer from day one, so you've continued that through because you're killing it from a sales point of view. What do you think it is that makes you so good at it?
Mate, we try to evaluate these things and over time, and it's probably the most commonly asked question on what do you do differently. I think I care more. I care about the results more than most agents probably would, and I know that may sound funny, but I do take it personal. I do really pride myself on getting the ultimate best price from my seller. I don't do a lot of auctions, and I know in Queensland we don't have a success rate as you do down south. I'm more of a private treaty listed price, and that gives me the ability to really work off a listing. So I think the last 5 sales I've made, all but one sold within $5,000 of the list price. So that gives me a benchmark to use as a marketing campaign. And when vendors see that, listed at $785, sold for $780, listed for $799, sold for $799, listed for $459, sold for $459, it really hits home that there's an agent out there trying hard. So I think I care a little bit more about the results than a lot of people. And I just don't like coming second. Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's why you were the captain of your school teams.
Yeah.
So what's your team? What's the team now around you?
So we've got a brilliant team, mate. We've got 6 sales guys in the office here, all very, very positive people. We've got a fantastic spine to the office, which is our administration. Jess Atkins, she runs the office here, and without her, the office would be in a bit of trouble. I think Wendy's does all of our contract works and pays us, so we're always nice to her. But I've just put on a sales cadet that I think you briefly spoke to. Billy, he started with me 2 weeks ago, and that was more so to get me into 2 places at once. So I could actually carve up my time and be at 1 o'clock appointments at 2 places at once. So that was the idea behind that. I don't have a sales team that works underneath me. We are all 6 different salespeople, but a great bunch of people to be with.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're going well there. So you're the most dominant agent there now, do you think?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, on that rate my agent side, I think, you take it with as you see it, but I think we're as our office is 6 agents in the office. I think the next place to us is 24 agents for the office across the road. And I think we've got the most vendor recommendations in the biggest suburb of the Redland City. And on a personal note, I think I'm the most recommended agent in the Thornlands area for vendor recommendations currently. So that's it's always a nice feather in your cap. It's not something that we focus on, but it's always nice to hear those things. But certainly with those sort of numbers and commissions, definitely put you up in the top couple of 2.
Yeah, that's great, mate. So what successes are you most proud of, and what are you the least proud of?
Mate, most successes, look, I mean, you love breaking records. I mean, there's nothing better than setting new benchmarks, and like the one on Saturday under hammer at 2.975 obviously would be up there. I sold the highest price unit in Cleveland, which was under the hammer as well last year at 2.8 million. But to be honest, it's not the actual number. It's I sold a house last week for a couple that have been there since 1965, and I listed it at 459, and it's a fibro little shack on a main road, and some people said that good luck. And we got 2 offers on it within the first week, and it sold for list price at 459. And that couple were just over the moon. They would have taken clearly a lot less than that, but they've been there since 1965. They hadn't engaged an agent. I was referred to them by their daughter, who I just sold the property for. And that to me is just as much of a kick than selling those big ones. I think I've sold 72 houses in 52 weeks, and 31 of them have either sold for a record price or a listed price. So that's pretty good.
Well, that's a nice rate, isn't it? Good click.
Yeah.
So,
it's and use that in the presentation too. Use that in the presentation with the sellers, and it always raises some eyebrows. So it's in a good way, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to talk about your successes in the presentation, don't you? It's massively important. So when you are in a presentation then, what do you think? Is there any strategy, system, style that you do differently that you think when you're in, you just think, as soon as I bring this up, I know I'm going to get it? Is there anything like that?
There's not. I mean, obviously you've got your success that you pass recent sales, and you can't rest on those. And I understand that, but they obviously give people confidence in your ability to get them across the line. But it's really, really important that you can't just go in there and say, there's my 72 sales in 52 weeks. I've sold the last 4 houses in your street. I've sold 2 of them for list price. Here's the Form 6. Can we sign it and get the sign up outside your house and let's go? It doesn't work like that. It's one part of it, of the puzzle. To be honest, the other part of the puzzle for me, which is just as important as your record sales or your past sales, is making a client feel at ease. If they're at ease with you, they're not going to be stressed through a campaign. They're going to make better decisions, and they're going to make quicker decisions. So part of my goal when I'm doing a listing presentation is I probably talk about a good presentation for me to go for about 90 minutes to nearly 2 hours. That's a full-blown presentation.
Yeah.
We talk about the house for about 30 minutes. That's it. So I'm trying to get to know them. I'm looking for things in their house that I can familiarise. It might be a Manchester United jersey. It might be a Brisbane Bronco jersey, or something on the walls, or something that you can just get to know them with and find a link. It might be an Ormiston College hat that their kids go to the same school I went to. Anything I can to form some sort of bond. And once that happens, you can connect a little bit better. The house actually only comes up for about half an hour. My goal when I go in for a listing presentation is, if they've had 3 agents there, it'll be 2 guys in a suit or 2 people in a suit and that Ryan Mccann guy. And that's my goal, is to not to blend in with the other 2 agents that have been there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be that point of difference. Obviously on the back end of that, you've got your success rate and your recent sales, references and all that type of thing help. But I'm also trying to find a connection and, most importantly, a sense of humor. So for me, if you can make somebody laugh and still be professional, you're a long way to having the job given to you. So that's what I look for.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. You've got to get them laughing, get them giggling, or at least
It just breaks the ice. The mood changes. All of a sudden, you're on a friendlier term than an interview. And that's what I want to get. If you go to a barbecue and you're having a couple of drinks and you're eating a hot dog and you're talking about real estate, it's always a lot more positive than if you traditionally see somebody going in for a cold listing presentation. And to me, that's not what I want. I don't want the cold listing presentation. I want it to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less pressure on the seller, and just put them at ease. I always say to my guys, if you can make a seller feel uncomfortable in their own home for just 2 seconds, you've guaranteed lost the business.
I love that.
So make them feel comfortable, make them have a laugh, and you're a long way to getting the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if they start to feel, sometimes people will give a listing just because they felt it was right, won't they? So it just felt right.
Yeah, I mean, and so you see, once they start opening up and they start laughing and they relax in their chair and they offer you a cup of tea, everything goes a lot more smoothly. They're more receptive. They've got more questions. Like they're not as regimented, and that's how you should be. Working a relationship with a potential seller. Yeah,
it's just like one of a really clever thing that I've heard from an influence point of view is that you get people say no first. You know that old sales adage where they say get 20 yeses, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Scientifically proven is that when you say no, you instantly feel more safe, more comfortable, more relaxed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I went on an appraisal yesterday, and unfortunately the guys had moved up from Cronulla and they had a bad experience down there, and they were very wary. She rang me on a private number. She was really reluctant to give out the address. She wanted to know roughly ballpark figure where her house was going to be. And I said that that's not how it's done. They said that they lost 6 figures down in the last transaction. She ended up inviting me to her home yesterday, and we sat down. So for the first 45 minutes, we did not discuss a house. We discussed her kids, the pet dogs, the pet rat, the everything. The transition they moved, the houses they rented while they were looking for a home to buy. She told me that she'd come through a couple of my open homes briefly a few years back, and she felt comfortable with me, and that's why she rang. And we'll get the job guaranteed. And we didn't talk about that house for a good 45 minutes into the 60, 70 minute presentation. So pretty good.
Yeah, that's fantastic, mate. So with selling so many, doing so many transactions, what's your biggest frustration?
Easily, without doubt, my easy frustration is agents that drop commission. That's that to me. Look, I work really hard. I work long hours, and I put a lot of effort into helping other agents in the office, and obviously marketing and selling and prospecting for the potential sellers down the track. And I think most of the agents out there, hand on heart, would say the same thing. It's a hard game. You make good money in this industry, but I think I heard somewhere there was a statistic that there's an 80% dropout rate in the first 3 months of beginners. That highlights, that highlights how hard the industry can be. And I don't think it matters what graphic you're in. It can be really hard, and there's a lot of ups and downs. The ups are fantastic, but the downs are quite low. And there's nothing more frustrating than going through a sale process and selling somebody's home, and all of a sudden you find out that the clients haven't got the finance, or they changed their mind, or there was a building or pest issue, and you don't get paid. So I never understand why agents throw away their own commission before they've even got the job. We're in a business to make money, obviously, and I'm not too proud to say that I'll throw $1,000 commission in sometimes to make $18,000, and it's happened before. It doesn't happen regularly, but it certainly has happened. But the bit that annoys me is when you go up against 2 or 3 agents, and they're quality agents, but to get the job, they feel that they can't back their own skills. Yeah. They've got to go in there and undercut all the other agents. That frustrates me more than anything in our industry.
Yeah, the desperation they show when they haven't got the talent or the skill, and in reality, that's what they're going to be like with the sale price too, aren't they? So,
look, and we've all got the cliches, we've all got the lines that we can use in defense of that, and as an agent, you have to have that in your toolkit to combat it. But it's a shame that we need to use it, and obviously the likes of purple bricks and all that type of thing. I mean, that's look, that's what frustrates me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the other thing too is they go out of business a lot very quickly. I've noticed as soon as the market turns.
Yep.
What did he used to say when the tide goes out, all the naked people exposed? I think I was talking about this the other day. But that's what happens to the agents too when they,
I like that.
So what
I
is
like that.
yeah, thanks, mate. What's the standard sort of rate around there?
In my area, it's as low as 2.85% and 3% is
Right.
about normal. So anywhere from 2.85 to 3.3 is the standard.
Yeah.
But certainly anything outside those windows is abnormal.
Yeah. And so what's Purple Bricks doing? Are they trying to sell properties for the landlords for the owners without them?
Look, we haven't encountered them that much. I think there's one over at I think it's over at Manly somewhere, about 15, 20-minute drive from here.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually got them in our city. Thankfully, not yet. But look, we've had Go Geckos pop up in I think three suburbs in our area, which obviously was about a 6,950 flat fee commission or thereabouts. We had 3 of them that opened up, and all 3 closed within 24 months.
I like the sound of that. It's fantastic. Now, again, with all these transactions, there must be some bizarre things that happen, some odd things, funny things, anything like that. Is there anything you can recall?
As an embarrassing moment?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mate, I'd have to go back to my first day in real estate, to be honest. It was 17 years ago, at 20 years old, driving a lemon yellow VH Commodore, no aircon. And the boss gave me about 1,000 keys and said, go and familiarise yourself with all these properties. And I think this is when RP data was just a black screen with green type on it. It was quite prehistoric back then. And I decided to start at the top of the list and go to the most expensive homes, which at the time was about 700,000. And the lady opened the door, looked at me with my hand-me-down suit and tie, and said, my youngest son's 10 years older than you. You're not going to be selling my house. Go away. So I hopped back in my lemon yellow Commodore, and I started at the other end of the scale. And it was a fibro shack on a very busy road. About 40,000 cars a day go past. And as I got up to the little fibro shack, I opened jiggled the keys around, and this mingy cattle dog just raised its back. All the hair stood up, and it had drool coming everywhere. And it went me. And I left some of the keys in the door. I held on to the other keys. I scaled a 5-foot chain wide fence with all these cars going 4 lanes of traffic. Superman dived over the fence, collected the fence on the way down, head butted the ground. So I've got a big cut across my forehead. My shirt got ripped. We live in the Redlands for a reason, mate. It's got red soil. So I'm covered in red mud. And all the cars were hitting their horn on the way through. And the keys I had for all the other houses went down the drain. And I then had to turn back up to an office full of 19 salespeople at Ray White Capalaba. And I was 20. The next youngest was 35. And I had to walk in with no keys, ripped shirt, blood all over my face. And the boss looked at me and said, so you've been door knocking, have you?
Welcome to real estate. Jeez.
That was my first day. It got better.
We'll have to. That shows a lot of people might have given up with that one, huh?
It couldn't get too much worse than that, mate. But that was my very first day on the job.
Yeah, unbelievable. So when did you realise you were good at this? Tell me the story about that.
Certainly not week 1.
No, we'll have to take a while to get yourself back through that.
Yeah, no, look, it was probably, honestly, it was probably when my dad owned his own private real estate office, and I worked against him. And it was probably when he approached me for a game of pool down at the RSL with a beer, and asked me to come and work for his business. I started beating his salespeople. So that was the first time I thought, yeah, I might be good at this.
Wow. So what made you then not go with him at the start? Because it would have been a lot easier, wouldn't it? Or would it?
No. He was a very hard taskmaster, mate. He didn't want to do the training with me. Yeah, no. He wanted me to get all the training done before I annoyed him.
Ah, okay, clever boy.
I'm one of those guys that asks a lot of questions. If I don't know something, mate, I'm going to ask you 1,000 questions.
Yeah. So he learned from when he tried to teach you how to drive, huh? And never again.
He just said, he said, staff at Ray White, get all your training, and then we'll speak to you later.
Classic. So let's think about negotiation. Do you have a certain way of negotiating with buyers and with sellers?
Yeah, look, It's probably one of my favourite, besides the listing presentation, negotiations is probably one of my favourite parts of real estate.
Yep,
I really enjoyed that challenge, and it's more so making sure that the buyers and the sellers are making the best decisions. And normally the seller's very defensive, and the buyers you're just trying to show them that there's value in the property that they're making an offer on. The last two contracts I've sold last night and the one the day before yesterday, I took a different approach. They had been on the market with another agent for 130 days. I'd sold them both within a couple of weeks. They were in the 900s, so they weren't small properties. And obviously you've got sellers which are really well to do in life, and they've done obviously something quite well to get to that level. So they're not silly. And it was more so just showing them data. So sometimes I think sellers can be their own worst enemies, and they pluck these figures from the sky. And my favourite question when a house has been on the market for that long is, how did you arrive at that price? Let me know so I could go tell the buyer. And it was just by fluke. The two responses I got from those two sales, one at 905 and one at 980, was, well, we just pulled it from the sky. Well, that was it. It just sounded like a good number. So getting them to say that out loud, because they realise they're educated people, they realise that is just a silly nonsense response. So then sitting down with them saying, I'm glad you said that, I'm glad you've been honest, and then show them the data that you've got. So I've done a printout of every single sale in your suburb from every single agency for the last 6 months. Can you see where yours falls? And the price that we've got puts you in the top 1 or 2 sales in the suburb. And it's that realization you see on their face. They've been protecting this price because they could have bought the Porsche at the end of the year, gone to Fiji for the end of the year, and put it in a nice little nest egg away and sold the house. But the house was never worth what they were actually chasing. And once they realise that they're probably being a little bit silly or a little bit adventurous with that price, and they can see what the market's been doing, they are a lot more open to discussing that with you. And both of them turned around and said, well, one said $5,000 more, and the other one said, get me 10 more, it's done. And thankfully they both got, they were both achieved.
Oh, that's beautiful. No, I love it, mate. Excellent stuff. All right, let's go to social media. I've noticed you're pretty prominent on social media. So what's your tactic there? Do you have any insight? Yeah,
look, it's social media is a fantastic forum. It's 2016, and if you're not on it, then you're losing business. I mean, I think at last calculation, I've made $145,000 in commission off social media, off Facebook itself. We are on LinkedIn as well, but Facebook's probably the more prominent one for me. That's a lot of commission to take out of your income if you're not on it. And I scratch my head and I say to agents, why aren't you on it? I mean, it's the cheapest way to get a lot of eyes on what you're doing. So I think it's really important for agents to, in any area, to be on social media. I'm probably not as proactive as some of the agents out there who only use digital. I'm still an agent that for our area, we've got an older generation out here as well on the Bayside. I really smother the press advertising and the digital advertising. So I'm in both. I can't look a seller in the eye and tell them I've got the best price if I haven't covered all forums. So for me, it's really important to make sure that the things as silly as a brochure, professional brochures are done, the social media content is done and it's done professionally, and obviously that they're exposed in the local papers as well. For me, that's how I can look somebody in the eye and say, we've covered everything, that we've left no stone unturned. This is the best result that you're going to get.
Yeah, that sounds great, Ryan. So, mate, how do you motivate yourself?
Motivation. It's look, I think I'm lucky. I've always been very self-driven. It's certainly not money that motivates you, where it probably was in my earlier days at 20, 22, 23. That probably motivated me more then. As we spoke about before, look, I did have a fall from grace. There was some personal issues I had, and that was about 2.5 years ago. There was a lot of, I suppose, haters or non-believers, and people told me that I was finished. That motivated me a lot. I do, and I always have enjoyed proving people wrong. But I think it's now a bit more mature. I think it's about getting this business to a place where Sherelle and I want it, and that motivates me every day. We've got a really good handful of staff here. It's not a massive office, but it kicks some big goals. And to see them enjoy their work environment, that motivates me enough.
Yeah. So that fall from grace, mate. So what were the frustrations that you felt there? Because you were quite wrongly done by, and a lot of it, the way it was put across.
Look, yes and no. Milton, I put my hand up on day one. I did the wrong thing, and it certainly wasn't the story that was put out there. And I heard and read some horrendous stories, and by no means am I trying to minimise what happened. But I suppose the biggest thing I did, mate, is I didn't take a lawyer into an interview with when I was arrested and for sharing drugs with three mates in my house, and look, I've owned it. I've certainly I don't hide from it anymore. It's something that happened to me 2.5 years ago, and $50 shouting a couple of mates, I found out was supply, and I didn't know that, and that terminology supply, people perceive it to be something else, and it wasn't anything but me shouting a couple of mates $50 in my bedroom, in my lounge room at my house, and as embarrassed as it was at the time, it got some fantastic coverage on media, and they went to town on it, and that was hard, mate. That was really hard to watch. I was more embarrassed for my family, but I watched listened to the podcast that you did with Matt Steinway, and that actually gave me a lot of inspiration. I think the word you used was colourful, and he gave me a lot of inspiration on what his past was, and that it doesn't have to define you. I made a mistake, and it certainly wasn't to the extent that the media portrayed it to be, but I learnt so much from it, and I think I've said before to other people, it's made me a better person, but also made me a better agent. I honestly believe that. It's I think in 2014, or 2013 when it all happened, I think I was a bit big-headed, a bit arrogant. I expected the business. I got 9 out of 10 listings I went for, and I just thought that they owed it to themselves to employ me, and that's just the wrong attitude to have. I'm a lot more grateful for the opportunities I get today. I've probably given vendors and my competitors ammunition not to use me. So when I get the opportunity to sit in front of mum and dad and sell their home, I'm so much more appreciative of the opportunities I get. And it really transpires in what I do and how I go about my job.
Do you think there's any part of self-sabotaging there? Because I notice that with a lot of people, and I know what you mean. You get to the heights in real estate where you are getting most of the listings, and we tend to get arrogant, especially us males, and up in our own little world.
Milton, I was living the Playboy lifestyle, waterfront homes, flash cars. I had a bad breakup. I was depressed, but I was still churning out sales. Yeah. And all that combined put me in a really negative place. It was 2.5 years ago now, and I hate the person that I was throughout that 2012-13 period. I hate that person, and I wasn't happy within myself. I wasn't happy. Obviously, my relationship had failed, and I was looking for an excuse to blow off steam or whatever it was, but it just wasn't acceptable. And disappointed. Yes, obviously having to confront my family and my mum especially and tell her what had happened, and her seeing it on the news and things like that was incredibly difficult. But in saying that, mate, we opened this business in June 2015. This office got behind the charity called Drug Arm. We've donated over $10,000 to the charity Drug Arm in 10 months. We only just handed another check over the other day for $2,800. I've sat down and mentored young kids, 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, on why not to go down that path. And it's just been so rewarding. It really has. And I enjoy nothing more than taking those guys out for a bacon and egg breakfast and getting them back on track and trying to get them back home and improving their life as well.
Yeah, well, and I think what the world loves to see is, because no one's perfect, none of us are perfect, we all have our issues, but it's all about the recovery. And it's also, I think, the fact that you were willing to admit to it, say, yes, it was a mistake, move on, and then doing everything you can to recover and to make up for it. So you're actually getting a lot of good out of what was quite a bad thing, don't you think? Lost the internet reception.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've lost the video.
Yep.
So what's happened here? It's weird. I've lost the video. Can you see me?
Oh,
No?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, lucky bugger. Hold on. I'll just see if I can get back here. Please join the Zoom meeting in progress. How bizarre. Okay. I'll go back to the room. Strange. Very strange. No. I'm a bit afraid to exit out of it in case. Oh, there we go. There's just a screen in the way. Aha. So, mate, did you just repeat that last thing I said? So, the world loves to see someone that has fallen from grace or made a mistake willing to admit it, stand up to it, and explain how they're going to recover from it and fix it. Because we all have weaknesses, we've all made mistakes in the past. None of us are infallible, and it's all about the recovery, isn't it? It's how you recover. And the fact is that it's probably a lot more good coming out of it from that bad part you went through because you're helping so many other people. The only thing I think too, though, imagine if you were selling one of these properties, hard to sell, and while it was on the news, you could have just held up a little picture, say, it's your house. The links you
look, I mean, I had a fantastic support network. And look, there was some bad times there, mate. I stepped away from the industry for 9 months. Because it was hard. It was really hard. And I suppose you can call him one of my good mates, who's also, I like to see him as a life coach. His name's Chris Anderson. He was in the BRW Young Rich list some years back, and he's a massive businessman in my area. And I sat down on, I think it was October 2014, mate, and I sat down with him and sucking on a Slurpee on his beachfront property down here at Raby Bay. And I said to him, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? My career's finished. And he turned around to me and he said, no, it's not. Like, you're Cinderella man. He said, you're going to fix it, you're going to get back on the bike, and you're going to change everything. And I looked at him and I said, mate, you've got to be kidding yourself. Have you seen what they've written about me? And to have somebody like that believe in you was just priceless. To have that belief from somebody like him gave me the confidence that I could do that. Because obviously your confidence levels at those points in time are not high. But that was something that I'll always remember and always be grateful for.
Well, it's like, and like you say, Matt Steinway, look where he got from. Yeah, they're very
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like I said, I actually had one of my staff, it wasn't my staff at the time, they actually sent me Matt Steinway's biography to me. And at probably the lowest point when I was going through some really bad times there, and I read Matt's bio, and again, if he can do it, then he's got 2 legs, he's got 2 arms and a heartbeat. There's no reason why I can't do it. And I've got on my wall here a life-size printout on my wall in my office. It's a quote from Babe Ruth, and it says, "It's hard to beat a person that never gives up," and that's probably one of my best traits.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and it's one of the best traits you can possibly have in real estate too. It's a lot of people want to give up.
Yep, mate. I was saying that to one of the guys in the office the other day. I sold a house about 5 times a few years back, and I never got paid for it. It fell over every time for a different reason, and it expired. Actually, the listing had expired, and I remember going back to the seller to say, "Look, I'm so sorry. This is the 5th time that this house has fallen over. We're out of the expiry date. I imagine you're going to go pick another agent to sell the property with." And he said, "Have you got a Form 6 in your car?" I said, Yeah, I do. He said, "Well, you better go and get it re-signed." I said, "You want to sign back up with me?" He said, "Yes." So I went out there, I got it all done. I came back and I said to the guy, "Leslie, I've got to ask you. I sold your house 5 times and it's never gone through. And for legit reasons, it fell over for different, just, unbelievable reasons." And he said, "Yes, mate." I said, "Why are you still signing up with me?" He said, "Because every time it falls over, mate, you could drop your bottom lip, you could walk away, kick the stones, but instead you get straight back on the phone, you start ringing buyers, and you get them back through the house, and that's what I like." So I took a lot of that.
And if anything, you actually showed how you can sell a house probably 6 times if you've sold it again.
Sold at 6, got paid once.
Yeah, that's what you said. I might just sell this 6 times over.
Six times in 60 days.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember hearing a story, and this is, I won't remember the details of it, so I'm absolutely paraphrasing. It was something to do, it was a big company in America, and one of the employees made such a massive mistake. It was a $10 million mistake, cost him $10 million. And he was expecting to get sacked. He said, oh, no, how come you're not going to sack me? And he said, because we've just spent $10 million training you, so why would we waste that money?
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, some of the mistakes that you make, and they're fantastic lessons, and they really cut your teeth into the industry. So, it only happens once, and you will learn from it. But, I'll never forget that. And, I learned a lot from that it came natural to me to get back on the phone and try to sell the house, because I just wanted to sell the house. But to see that somebody else could see that I was putting that effort in to get that property sold, that made me really happy.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Kudos to you there for sure. Do you prospect? Do you door knock or anything like that, or any of your team?
I'm probably not the best agent to train with if you're looking for prospecting. I'm not a good door knocker. And I'm not a good cold phone caller. I'm not good at that, and I'll never pretend I am. I'm very transparent with the things that I do well, and with the things I don't do well, I'm not good at all. But 92% of my business is repeat business, referral business. What I don't get referred to, it comes from open homes. My open homes are better than anybody else's open homes in the area. They're done better, they're conducted better, they're a better environment for people to visit. And I get a lot of listings from people that attend my open homes. So for me, I'm not there to sell that house within the 30 minutes. My mindset is I'm on a job interview. So when you come through the home, I'm assuming that you've got a house to sell. That's my assumption. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter, but I'm there to impress you as this is a guy we want selling our house. If you happen to buy that house within that 30-minute open home, that's great. That's a bonus. But I'm actually there to make sure that you think, when you go see the other 7 open houses or the 7 agents on that Saturday, that your experience in that 10, 15-minute window at my house was the best one you had for the day. And when you decide that you want to employ an agent, I'm the first on the call list.
So what do you do differently then in the open homes? Is it more just the personality?
It's a personality, but I've got little gimmicks that I will use. So I call it the Sizzler Buffet Bar. So any seller that lists exclusively with me and has professional brochures made up, and the professional brochures are a booklet brochure. They're very done in cardboard. They're very smart looking. They're on display at every one of my open homes. So I've got I signed up 30 listings, 30 exclusives last quarter. All of those are on display at every open home. So when somebody turns up to the house, they sign the guest register, obviously, with the house that I'm at, with the open home brochures there. Somewhere else in the house, so maybe on the pool table or the dining table, I'll have all the other brochures laid out, and they're all on display. And the reason for that, Milton, is for me, it opens dialogue. It's unrealistic to think that every person that walks through that house is going to buy that house that you're at for 30 minutes. So what I want to do is get chatting to people. I want my personality to come out. I want to engage with them and know who they are. So where my competitors open the house that they're at and they have the brochure there for the home, the person walks in and says, well, yes, I can see that's a kitchen. I can see that's a bathroom, and I'm pretty sure that's a garage. No, thanks. Not for me. See you later. I've got the Sizzler Buffet Bar in the background. And the way I say to agents is, if you've ever been to a barbecue, you have to go to a barbecue on a Friday night, you got $100 in your pocket, you've run down to Just Jeans to get some jeans to wear to the barbecue, and you got $100 to buy a pair of jeans. You've got to be home in 45 minutes. Your missus is getting a bit angry because you're a bit late, and the assistant comes up to you and says, can I help you, sir? What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth? No, I'm just looking, thanks.
Exactly.
You got 45 minutes to get back home with a pair of jeans, mate. You need all the help you can get.
Yeah.
But you just say, it's a natural human reaction to say, no, I'm fine, thanks. I'm just looking. And that's the same lines that people use at open homes. Hi, my name's Ryan. I'm just looking, thanks. I'm fine. You don't need to talk to me. I know that's a kitchen. It's all good. So by putting that buffet bar out there with all the other properties, what I've done is created a platform for them to go and interact with me. So when they say, look, to be honest, mate, we don't like this house, but this one here, this one grabs us. Has that got side access and a pool? Yeah, absolutely it does. What price range are you in? 600. Oh, if you've got 600, you might be better suited to this one. And all of a sudden, dialogue opens and we start chatting. And have you seen much today? Have you seen anything you like today? Have you sold your house? Have you got to put yours on the market? Great, you're painting it, you're selling it next week. So all of a sudden, I've created an opportunity to make another $15,000, $16,000 where my competitor has just opened the door, let them walk through and let them walk back out.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between my open home and why I get more listing opportunities from them.
No, I love it, mate. It's fantastic. Good stuff. All right, well, we'll finish it with just a few lightning round questions, if that's okay.
Good. Go for it.
Any books you'd recommend?
I'm not a huge reader, I've got to say, but The Rise and Rise of Kerry Packer I did like.
Yeah, lucky boy, wasn't he? What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Opportunities are never lost. Somebody always gets the one that you missed, from my dad.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Okay, what's one of your personal habits you feel strongly contributes to your success?
I hate coming second.
Yeah, you're a winner. How do you do a better job than anyone else for your clients? I think we've already heard most of that, though.
Yeah, just more empathetic, more in tune with what they need, and taking the stress out of a sale. You don't need to. I've heard so many people say getting divorced and selling a house are the two most stressful things in life. Fortunately, I've never been through a divorce. I don't think anybody would say yes, but by all means, selling a house, I disagree with. It just does not need to be stressful. It really doesn't. And part of my goal is to ensure that transaction is as stress-free as possible.
Nice, like it. Any bad habits?
Not for 2.5 years.
Yeah. What is your favourite sport to play or watch now?
I am a sports nut, mate. I watch badminton if I had to. I'm a big Bronco fan. Obviously, I'm a big rugby union fan. Cricket, I watch anything, mate. You put it on TV, I'll watch it.
And you get Benji Marshall this year, don't you? Next year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be good during Origin period, but I don't know if he's got a full-time spot there, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where he's going to go. Favourite music?
Favourite music? I've got a wide range, but favourite song would be Lightning Crashes from Live. The Eagles. I like all that. Daryl Braithwaite, mate. Anything cruisy.
Yeah, no, it sounds good, mate. It sounds good. And is there anyone else you'd recommend to go on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely, mate. Look, I've always said to watching interviews with other agents, if I got to choose an agent to sell my house, I would probably select the guy called Adrian Bowe down there in New South Wales. In Sydney.
Yeah, he's good.
I think he is. I think he's first class.
Yes, he's a nice guy too, Adrian. Good guy.
Great agent.
All right, Ryan. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. You've been sensational. So it's been
no dramas at all, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Real. Thank you, buddy. And I'll catch you again, buddy. Bye, mate.
Thanks, Milton. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Millionaire Agents Secrets. Want 5 times more listings? Go to www.miltonplayer.com for a free cheat sheet.